Blood of Zeus is Netflix's latest anime series. It started this week on the streaming service. It is fabulous. I got to see it in advance. And it has a huge cast, a fraction of which joined me here today. Hi, everybody.
Hello.
Oh, wow. What a nice group of people. Now, I have to say, a lot of you get your British accent on for this show. Is anyone here actually British?
I lived there for 10 years. How's that?
Yeah, I'm Irish and lived there for 8 years.
Oh, wow.
I'm Sierra Leonean, grew up in Kenya, went to private English schools, hence my hodgepodge weird amalgamation accent. So,
But I have to say, you guys were all flawless. It was fantastic. I loved it. It was, classic British accent rules.
It's called the gaming accent, or the Lord of the Rings.
Claudia.
Yeah, it's sort of a transatlantic-y kind of
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and it was funny, Jason. I would hear Batman a little bit when you were, when Zeus was in disguise, and then all of a sudden he'd become, Zeus, and I'd be like, Jason's British accent is incredible.
Yeah, except the disguises are inverted, right?
Yes. Oh, that's right.
Yeah. So like the Bruce Wayne is actually kind of the Zeus, and the old man is kind of like the Batman.
That's fantastic.
The alter ego.
So let's go around. You guys, please introduce yourself and the character that you voice on Blood of Zeus. So let's start. Actually, you guys don't know the circle you're in, so we'll start. Jason, you want to go first?
Jason O'Mara, and I play Zeus and the old man.
Claudia?
I'm Claudia Christian. I play Hera.
Addie?
I'm Ade Tokumbo, or Ade McCormack, and I play Kofi.
Matthew?
I'm Matthew Mercer, and I play Hermes.
Derek?
Derek Phillips, and I play Heron.
And last, certainly not least, Elias? Or Elias?
Elias, there you go.
Sorry.
I'm Elias, and I play Seraphim.
Oh, very cool. You guys, I love all your characters so much. It's fun to actually see the people behind the characters. Now, this show, to me, reminds me of Game of Thrones, but like the Greek mythology edition. And I think knowing your Greek mythology going in is definitely important. Now, for me, my mother bought me, the Dolores book of Greek myths that I think a lot of people have read. And that's how I really got into Greek mythology. I think it paved the way for my love in comic books going forward. But how did each of you get into Greek mythology for the first time?
I was the same as you. My mother gave me a book on Greek mythology and read it to me at night as a young child. And they were, and this was before, okay, I'm going to age myself, but this was before Superman the movie came out. So I didn't, to me, it was always the Greek mythology gods came first and then the superheroes. It's only now that there's such a pervasive, I suppose, pop cultural presence of superheroes that you have to kind of go, oh yeah, actually there were also these Greek gods. And I think they're also the reason why, it's also the original soap opera, isn't it? Because they're making all the same mistakes that humans are making, but they're just a little higher status. Well, a lot higher status, but they're making all the same mistakes, and they're all sleeping with each other, and they're all beating the crap out of each other and murdering each other. But they also have these superpowers. So, I was intrigued from when I was a young child reading those books.
I just remember seeing Clash of the Titans when I was 7 years old, maybe, with my grandmother, and just being like, "This is the coolest thing ever,"
Ray Harryhausen.
Clash of the Titans.
With Harry Hamlin back in the day.
Oh wow, that's great! Yeah. You have a cool grandma.
I do. Yeah. My grandmother has never made it through any movie, though. Literally, that was the joy of having a grandmother like that, because we could take her to rated R movies, and she'd fall asleep 5 minutes into it. I had no clue what
the workaround.
No, it was great.
I swear, this movie's fine.
That's amazing.
I'm half Greek, the good half. And so for me, Greek mythology was more like my grandmother's cooking than anything else. I was always, inundated with Greek culture. Like my Big Fat Greek Wedding is not an exaggeration. It's pretty accurate. Like that was my family, my whole Greek side of the family. So yeah, we had all those books laying around, but I was only like, I was about to call him Heron, like Derek said. it was like movies and Clash of the Titans, especially. I was a big Ray Harryhausen fan. So Jason and the Argonauts, things like that. Those are the things that got me into Greek mythology. And when I saw the audition for this, I think I can speak for everybody here. As an actor, you get dozens of auditions a month, and you kind of just throw things at the wall and hope they stick, right? Especially with voice, you're doing 50 auditions and you hope that you get one. But when I saw the audition for this, I was like, man, a Greek mythology tale by the animation studio that does Castlevania. It's like, how do I get in on this? And I bothered my agent. I'm like, you have to email Meredith. You have to. And I didn't know anybody yet. I was only in town like 9 months. And I was like, you have to email, excuse me, the casting director, Meredith. You have to email her. You have to tell her that I'm in town. You have to get me on the show. And it worked.
Fantastic.
Squeaky wheel.
Doesn't always work.
I was raised on Roman gods, not Greek gods. So Hera is Juno to me. And I actually ended up writing a book about based in a Rome that never fell, alternate history book.
What's the name of the book?
Wow.
Wolf's Empire.
Oh, very cool.
Yeah, I write alternate history books. So I'm far more into the Roman and was raised with the Roman. But what I prefer about the Greek mythology is that the gods are more fallible, more human characteristics, whereas in the Romans are sort of, the planetary and infallible, it seems at times. So this was certainly more attractive because you have the characteristics of emotion, human emotion. So that's what was interesting to me. But I'm in Rome as far as knowledge. And every time I think I have to remember the Greek name for the god because I'm always in the Roman name.
For me, I think I was about 8 or 9, and I noticed my mother was filling out some passport application, I think. And originally I'm from Sierra Leone, and I grew up in Kenya, and so we don't know much about Greek mythology, to be perfectly honest. But when she wrote her name is Joanna May Aquila. And I was like, what is Aquila? What is that? That's not an African name. And she said, that is represents the eagle that carried Zeus's thunderbolts. And I was like, what? This is incredible. Wow. And so I started doing more research about Greek mythology, and I was completely fascinated by it. And that's where my interest, I think, began.
That's awesome.
Matthew?
I was an odd child, an odd adult. I'm just an odd person. So that didn't really change. But it began weirdly with my fascination with the movie Ghostbusters, and there was some conversation in there regarding ancient Mesopotamian and Sumerian religion, and the Egon and Ray Stantz conversation. And I was like, what is this? And so I started at a very young age reading up on ancient Sumerian mythology, which is far more obtuse in a lot of ways than Greek and Roman mythology. And so once I got into that, my parents were like, well, we should probably give him something that's a little more get his hands on for a child. And so that was when they started getting me books about Greek mythology. And once again, I kind of built my obsession on general cultural mythology around the world. But Greek mythology definitely sticks with you for the reasons that we already discussed here. It's some of the most relatable characters on a pantheon scale than you get in a lot of other places around the world. So
you were a small child reading about Sumerian mythology.
Reading and understanding are two very different things.
Your parents must have been so impressed.
Or scared, and your kid's like, Pazuzu, Asput, the Great Darkness. They're like, oh, we should.
Here's a Greek mythology book with some.
Yeah.
Still adult, but happier things.
Yeah. The other parents don't freak out when you start mentioning around their children.
That's fantastic. So, when you do voice work for an animated series, it's early on in the process. You guys are just in a recording booth. This is pre-pandemic, so you're in a recording booth. How do you feel now that you've seen the actual finished product? How much of the show have you seen?
I've seen the first 4 episodes. And I just called Charlie and Vlas on the phone, and I was like, wow, guys. Because you don't know. You really don't. You have some idea of what it's going to be. And I've gotten to work with some of the other actors on it. And unfortunately, you don't get to work with everyone, But Jason and I got to work together, and Mamie Gumner and I got to work together. And so you get to hear people's voices, and you're like, okay, that sounds really cool. And you're starting to get a vibe of what it is. And you see some of the artwork, but until you actually see the final footage, you kind of don't know what you've got,
So, yeah. There are a number of series that you go into and you're either super excited in the final animation. You're like, oh, that wasn't what I was expecting. Oh, you know, and often from my personal experience, you know, I grew up loving cartoons, so animation is very near and dear to me, and so the process itself was fascinating. But we go so long between recording and the final product that often it's a surprise, and like a wonderful surprise when all of a sudden it's released and finalized. And so, like Derek, I got to watch the first 4 episodes, and you know, was anticipating it would be as good as I hoped it would be based on the scripts and the conversations around and it's phenomenal. I'm so excited for everyone to check it out.
Yeah, with Powerhouse Animation, I was, you know, I had in the back of my mind, I'm like, it's going to look beautiful. But I wasn't sure. The scripts are rather complex because there's a lot of action, a lot of flashbacks, and I was like, how's this all going to come together? And like these guys, I saw the first 4 episodes, and look at it this way, I'm dying to see the final 4.
Because I've seen all of them. Ha ha ha.
Yeah, you've seen more than us.
That's so dreaded.
Great, you're gonna be so happy.
But we are already like really, really happy. I mean, the brothers have been bothering them so much. Like, just send me more, send me more, send me the trailer early. I want to see it. Yeah, and I'm really proud to be a part of it for sure.
I've worked with Powerhouse before. I was on Castlevania, and one of the things that I knew that they were going to deliver and go above and beyond, you know, anything that we could possibly conceive. But when I watched the pilot, I was like, oh my God, this is incredible. It blew my mind. So I think people are going to be very, very happy with what they see.
Yeah. One of the things that I think they did that really just kind of blew my mind and I thought was awesome, and I haven't seen it in anything else, is there's this specific character delineation between each one of the gods.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like they all look different. Their wardrobe is all different. And I was like, that's cool because it plays into this culture that we have now, which is like a comic book culture of seeing these gods in you know,
their superhero costumes kind of.
Yeah, with cool action sequences.
Yeah. It
Claudia
feels more
Jason,
specific.
Claudia and Jason, what do you think of what you've seen so far?
I think it's visually stunning. I saw the same as everybody else. They sent me a few sample episodes, and it's something that I didn't expect. I've done animation. It is funny how long it takes. I did a Disney film once, and every time I went back for another session, Demi Moore had another baby because she was doing Hunchback at the same time. Yeah, I kept going in. There was another baby crib, and I'm like, okay, this is taking a really long time. So that's kind of. But this took a lot less time in my mind, but I couldn't get my head around what the anime would look like. I mean, would we look, you know, very much like Japanese anime, or would it be really, really basic anime?
Hera looks hot.
Yeah, Hera is like Maleficent meets
Hera is smoke show hot. Yeah,
she's smoking, man. She's smoking. I was very happy when I saw what I looked like and what I was dressed like, and the eyebrows that go way up like this.
Yeah, it's fantastic.
Yeah, it was fabulous. But I was.
You have nice eyebrows too, Claudia.
Thank you. Seems whenever they animate me, they get that in there. No, it was visually stunning. I mean, I was taken aback, and there was so much. The scripts do drive forward, very much so, that between the action and the actual getting to know the characters, and there's a pathos there. I believe there's a human pathos there, which is obviously due to these great performers. But I was very impressed, I have to say.
What did you think, Jason, of what you've seen?
Yeah, I was really pleased with Zeus because he's like a silver fox, you know, and he's definitely been working for me. But I think that the thing I was most relieved about was the old man stuff, because when we were working in the booth, you know, the direction was like, let's go bigger and more epic. And sometimes when you're going that big and that epic, you're afraid that you're going to come off too big and too kind of theatrical, sort of like the Orson Welles, you know, the Orson Welles YouTube. Have you ever listened to him doing like, you know, the voiceover commercials?
Or the TV.
Bring in the wine. And
you did not
I was always like, I was concerned because I was trying to get a lot of range in with the old man because he had so much exposition. So when you have epic images to go with it, it doesn't sound so hammy. You know, it sounds as epic as the images and the music, and it just, all the elements have to come together for it to feel like they were all made at the same time when they weren't. Like you said, it's like you do the voice and then the animation and then all the post comes after, all the music and sound effects. So it's always a relief when those things fuse together to make something cohesive and make it look like it's all one. It's a magic trick.
Well, Jason, well, Jason, you've gone from Batman to Zeus, and since you've been cast as both, there's obviously some overlap there. You know, how, in your mind, how are the characters alike and how are they different?
Oh my God, they're so different. I see absolutely no, other than I suppose, well, see, Batman isn't even a superhero, really. He doesn't really have any superpowers. So I don't really see any, I didn't feel any crossover anyway. I'm sure just the cadences, the odd time, and maybe the tone of my voice came across. But Batman works in such a narrow range that to be allowed out of that cage is just, it's a joy. You know, you can really kind of have fun. And yeah, it was nice. It was really nice. Like Bruce Wayne, you want to try to make as kind of relatable as possible, but still in a sort of a Batman way. But Batman himself is almost monotone. So this, in a way, couldn't be more different, you know, to that.
Well, on that note, we spent a lot of time with Zeus, and I was impressed that you were able to make him relatable, but he still seemed like a god. How did you walk that fine line? Because if he's too relatable, then you're like, Zeus is just, you know, he's not special.
I grew up admiring some of the great British actors before I admired movie stars. Like, you know, Laurence Olivier, particularly, by the way, Laurence Olivier and Clash of the Titans, which we've already name checked. Yeah. You know, John Gielgud, Ian McKellen, Ian Holm, Alan Rickman, Jeremy Irons, and more recently, you know, Mark Rylance, Daniel Day-Lewis. These are guys who I felt really influenced by, and they know how to make incredibly noble characters somehow relatable, all of them. And so I just, and also you trust the script as well, you know. And it's because it's not just what they're saying, it's what the characters are doing that defines them. You know, action defines them, especially in something heavily action based like this. So I think you just kind of, you do what you can and then kind of hope that everything else kind of helps you out, like the story and the script. So it wasn't really something, I didn't want him to come off cold, but I didn't want him to come off anything but extremely powerful. So anyway, I'm glad it struck a balance there. Yeah.
No, I think it's interesting you reference those actors because I think your performance here definitely fits with that.
Oh, I'm not saying I'm in the company of those guys. I'm
no,
just saying
I can see
there are
that
people who have influenced me. Yeah.
I can say it. I thought it was quite good.
Okay, thank you.
So Derek Heron is our lead character, and he's upset a lot of the time, especially at the beginning, rightly so. But you never make him whiny. How did you do that?
First off, I mean, acting is an action. You know, I think we need to remember that. So if you're desiring something, you're not going to be whiny about it. You're striving towards something. But I mean, I was a theater guy growing up, and I can't tell you how many productions of Chekhov plays that I've seen where it's people going, you know, the main character wants to be an actor and they're going, I want to be an actor. And you watch that, and for 5 acts, you literally want to pull your hair out. And I remember seeing a production of The Seagull in New York with Meryl Streep and Philip Seymour Hoffman and Kevin Kline, and it was just a ridiculous cast. Christopher Walken, and it was directed by Mike Nichols, and it was the first time I got Chekhov because of this production, because everyone was desiring something. They weren't playing the ending. And I think that goes for everything that you're doing as an actor. We may know the ending as an actor, but the character doesn't know. So the character's striving for something. The character, he wants something or she wants something. They're going after that thing. It's an active thing. So just like life, I mean, we've all had a pretty rough year of it in 2020, but we're all here and we're all hoping for something better and striving for something better. And I think that as an actor, we need to be doing that with our characters as well. So yeah, that production kind of, a light bulb went off. I remember seeing that production and thinking, yeah, that's what it is. That's how you make Chekhov work. And that's how you make any quote unquote whiny character work, I think.
I'm so impressed. You know, this is an anime show with all these cool action sequences. You guys are referencing like these wonderful, really heightened dramatic things. I think that's wonderful. You can see that. I think that's one of the reasons the show must have come together so well. Claudia, Hera is a really formidable villain. I was talking to Charlie and Vlass, who created this show, and they were like, oh, we think all the villains are understandable and you can see where they're coming from. And I was like, I got to tell you, towards the end, I was like, someone's got to stop Hera. I mean, I was really impressed. So usually in Greek mythology, she's just the angry wife that Zeus cheats on. And while, of course, that's the case here too, there's so much more going on. How is it playing a more nuanced, more powerful version of Hera?
I think people have to realize that besides the laundry list of infidelity that occurred with Zeus and her jealousy and her rage because of that, look at the reason why. She's one of the few, if not the only deities that was monogamous, that was loyal to him. So it's shameful. And it's also just a direct, it's more of an insult because she's not screwing around herself. And because she's given herself completely, the whole act of reclaiming her virginity through bathing constantly. So she's always refreshing her virginity. So for her, there's great impetus on loyalty and being a couple, being a monogamous couple, and with the plethora of bastards that he's produced,
yeah.
all of the inconsistencies in his push me, pull me of his love and affection, I think has driven her quite understandably insane. I mean, that kind of uncomfortable, extremely, we would call it what would you call that sort of relationship? A codependent?
Toxic?
in today's vernacular, they have a really unhealthy codependent relationship. So I found that it's very easy for me to tap into her humanity and her deep, deep sense of shame and hurt. And that makes her more one. I mean, if you want to play the one note of a jealous, what, I think that becomes really boring after a while. I think she's deeply, deeply hurt and saddened and betrayed, but in that internal grief is something that eventually I hope you see from her. Otherwise, it's just a one-note villain.
No, I've never seen her so powerful.
100% see it.
So Elias, you're the show's villain. You have a super cool look, but you also have a super cool villain voice. How did you and the show achieve that? How much is you? How much is post-production?
How did I achieve my voice? I didn't really achieve my voice.
Well, no, I mean, like you have a cool, I have to say, your voice sounds,
my parents
I can
made
see you
it
did
and
more
then
than I thought.
No, they did kind of, Sean, the director, who's incredible, by the way, he called me about halfway through production. He's like, look, the demons that are loyal to Seraphim, we've recorded them twice. We've had them recorded in a regular voice, and then we had the same actors kind of do a demon voice, and then we've spliced them together or put them on top of each other. That's what they did for the demons. And they said, well, we're not going to do that with you because we like the way your voice is, but we're going to like occasionally dip it or raise it, or kind of it's going to go through these kind of. And at first I was like, man, am I going to not sound like me? And I was a little nervous about it, but then I saw the episodes, and I think it's a great idea because there are points where he gets incredibly intense or incredibly upset, and his voice, like they take my voice and they drop it another octave, and it has this really interesting kind of thing, but it only lasts a second and then pops back out. So it's a really original way to have a character voice in a series. So I'm cool with it, and I think it works great. And I play a lot of villains, as you can probably imagine. And my favorite thing about playing the villains, again, it speaks to what Derek says, you can't play a bad guy. You can't just be evil for the sake of evil. It doesn't work. You have to figure out what this character wants and where, how this character gets it and what's in his way, and how the character feels about the other characters around him. And you play that. And hopefully, one thing that was really important to me in this, and we didn't really get to work together, is the relationship with the in this. I guess we can talk spoilers, right?
No,
'Cause this
don't
is-
talk about spoil. I'll cut that
All
out.
right. Okay, good. Cut that out.
Not a saw it coming, but still, some people might not.
All right, so don't. Well, I won't bring that up. Forget it. I was gonna say nice things about Derek, but forget it. Cut it out.
Derek is very nice for reasons we won't go into now. But if you watch the show, you'll see.
All right, cool.
That's fantastic. But no, I'll just bleep it out so people will know there's something going on between your two characters.
All right.
Did you know how cool your character was going to look when you were recording?
I had a bit of artwork that they showed me, I think, before we started. I think so. It was so long ago at this point. Yes, yeah, I remember seeing what he was going to look like, but he's very different even from that original concept art. But it, you know, the style of him was about the same. So yeah, I kind of knew how cool he was going to look. But he looks cooler than I thought.
Addie, you said do a voice of Isaac on Castlevania. What do you think of animation becoming more geared towards adults thanks to shows like these?
Well, I think it's great. Listen, we're not confined by budget or, there are no budgetary constraints when it comes to animation. And there are to a certain degree, but if you're doing a film that has this kind of scope, it might cost a couple $100 million at least, right? And in this way, we can actually, do a lot and have so many different things going on, as well as tackle stories about love and, a man who is trying to conquer, all, or, it's like we have the same themes, but we can put them in an animation and actually make them quite successful. So I love the fact that we can do animation, just go so much further than a film can, or, a TV series or whatever.
Are you an animation fan yourself?
I wasn't at first, to be perfectly honest. I was like, cartoons, what's that about? But then I started doing Castlevania, and I just became obsessed with animation. And I'm developing my own animated series right now, and it's just...
Wow, you really came into animation.
Yeah, I did.
You go from being, hey, what's this, to
it was just like, oh my God, I'm obsessed. And I learned so much, right? I mean, especially with Greek mythology, it's just, there are things we didn't learn at school, and now I'm learning a lot about it. And of course, as I said before, it still tackles just how there's so much that can be related to, that we can relate to today. And it's excellent. It's awesome. Can
you tease a little bit what your show that you're working on is, that you're developing yourself, is about, or is it still in the top secret?
I can't talk about it.
Okay.
I'd love to, trust me, but I can't talk about it.
Well, you certainly have the connections now, so good luck with that. Break a leg.
Yeah.
So Matthew, you're doing so much work right now. I went to your IMDb page and I was like, these are all 2020. It is amazing. I mean, it's congratulations.
Thank you. It's been very busy.
Yeah, you have like 6 to 7 projects going on. You have TV animation. You're doing video games. You're also doing the Iron Man virtual reality experience. That must have been really cool.
That was fun.
What advice do you have to people who are looking to get into voice work animation?
Oh man, that could be a whole thing in itself.
That's a question.
But
like starting to get started.
Yeah, no. Well, I will say, one of the most important things that I think it's overlooked in a lot of people that are getting into this industry, especially people who are coming in as fans of animation and such, kind of playing off some of the conversations here as well. Vocal quality is great, impressions and dialects, these are all useful tools in a toolbox, but the real core of being able to stand out and facilitate a career in this industry is to train and develop your craft as an actor. It's very easy to think that it's just about, silly voices and characterizations and stuff, and that's all helpful, but those are all just dressings onto the central core part that is your ability to interpret a character, to take dialogue and often with voiceover specifically, things that you aren't given a lot of time to work with in a lot of projects. You're given a script the day of sometimes. And so it's from that experience, that time you've taken to really feel comfortable in your own skin and to take other people's work and make strong, bold choices in the moment and just try best to live in this singular element of the story and breathe life into it, that really makes you stand out as a performer and makes projects like this really feel elevated beyond what is expected of animation. And to what Eddie was saying there, we're now getting into an era where animation as an adult form of entertainment is really, really coming into a renaissance. And that aspect is even more important now. You need to be able to come to a scene and treat it like it was a theatrical performance. And I think a lot of us come from a theater background, and that transitions really easily into voiceover because you live in that space, that heady space of really fully breathing a character for an extended period of time. You know, on camera is great and a very similar skill set, but it's a lot of stop and go, and it's a lot of having to kind of shift gears constantly in and out. Voiceover often can feel a little closer to a theater experience for me. So if you're looking to begin a journey as an actor, I would recommend when it's possible, I guess, to start getting involved in possibly community theater, local theater, to get some experience on stage and with other performers around you, feeding off of each other's energy, and just begin the process of finding what you as an actor can be. And then the rest of it just helps build that up from there.
That's a great answer, Matthew. That was a great answer.
Yeah.
A lot of people ask us as actors, you know, especially with voice acting, how do I get into voice acting? Because it looks so easy, but there's a whole process. And I say the exact same thing. Learn how to become an actor by training and getting experience and training, and just start that process. Get on stage, whatever you've got to do, you know, work with a great coach, whatever you've got to do. But like, it's not just, you can't just show up. Just like we can't just show up and do our job. You can't just show up and be an actor. There's a process to everything. And there's a lot you don't see. Great answer, Matthew. Sorry.
Yeah, it really was.
I'm so impressed. You know, your guys' respect for your craft and for each other and working on projects is really commendable. And I think it goes a long way to showing, as I said earlier in this interview, because you guys just keep impressing me, you know, why the show turned out as well as it did. Finally, before we go, I have to ask each of you, what are you most excited for people to see with this show? From a scene to like your character maybe, or a specific episode? No spoilers. But like,
see, the thing I want to talk about is the spoiler.
Yeah. But like, what are you like, oh man, I can't wait till they see this.
That thing that I'm talking about when you see it. No, I like the relationships I have that the characters build. I really like, one thing that I love about this show, and I can't wait for people to see it, is after the 8 episodes, you realize that each character, at least each main character, has a properly written and executed motivation. And that's, you know, it's not that common in a lot of television or movies. Very little pop culture writing these days has well-developed characters. Like I said, it's easy just to be evil, but to have a character who gives you reasons as to why he or she is doing something. So if anything, it's the story and the characters that I want. I can't wait to hear the reactions of people. The action's amazing. The animation is beautiful. The direction is great. But it's really the characters for me that that I'm really interested to see how people react to them.
It's definitely binge-worthy.
Oh,
That was the thing that got me, was that I just wanted it to keep going. I wanted to watch it like one long movie. And I mean, I read the scripts, but I was along for the ride. So I think that sort of Moorish kind of, as they say in the UK, that you kind of went, oh, well, then what happens? And even though I know what happens, I mean, you know, it still got me hooked. And I think the stunning visuals of it and the great performances will keep people glued to it. And it's a good thing when you have performed in something and you actually say you want to watch the whole thing instead of just dipping in. You know, we've all done that before. Like, we'll watch 10 minutes of a movie of the week that we did. Okay, that's enough.
Yep.
I'm going to watch that. I've played enough police officers in my life. I know what I did. Thanks. You can watch that. This was a different experience. It was actually quite fun. So
we've all been in the theater and done this number during one of our as I fall out of my chair.
It's
like you can't go any lower.
We've all been there, sweetheart.
Yeah.
Queen of the horror films over here.
I've got one or two.
Say no more.
Yeah. I will say on top of the fantastic character interactions and character motivations and the inherent drama baked into, you know, the Greek pantheon, there is some fantastically cinematic action and combat in this series as well. You know, what anime is known for is its great action. This is no different. It really takes what I think too is a lot of the, in some ways, to the superhero-esque type pantheon, a lot of that really cinematic, you know, speed ramping, theatrical idea of what modern action is on that grand scale and takes it to animation and then injects it with the awesome pantheon powers. I'm excited for people to be able to enjoy those moments of intense activity as well.
Yeah, I mean, there's so many things. The visuals are out of this world. I mean, they're crazy. The characters are fleshed out, incredibly well written, incredibly well directed. It's very diverse. You've got strong, robust female characters. Claudia, you're amazing. And you've got my character. So I think the diversity of it is incredible. And I think people are going to really respond to that.
I'm excited for people to see how jacked I am with my shirt off. I mean, my guy is yoked. So there's so many
both of
things
us are accurate to our actual. Me and Derek, it's like
both.
to a T, right?
We worked really hard on this.
Yeah.
They scanned you guys.
To get in this kind of shape.
Yeah.
But no, I'm just excited for everyone to see everything about it. I mean, there's somebody was saying just now about how the violence is handled even, I mean, there's some moments in it where you're like, oh, wow, that's, it's graphic, but it's, yeah, I'm just excited for everyone to see literally every aspect of it. Everything.
We neglected to give a shout out to the sound as well.
Yeah.
It's very good.
Yeah, it really is top notch, and everything, music and just the levels.
Yeah, the music's really
The
good.
music's amazing.
Created a lot of drama in that sound.
And shout out to the brothers who created it. The
Yes.
brothers.
Charlie and Vlad.
They're two great guys.
How about you, Jason? What are you looking forward to people experiencing?
I don't really know what to expect, but I am quite excited because I think the YouTube video is up to almost 5 million views now. And from what Charlie and Vlad have said, like, a lot of the reviews have been good. So, like, do you dare to kind of go, gosh, could this be a hit? I don't know. It could be a hit.
I think it could. I got to tell you.
Who doesn't like being in a hit? Right? I'm excited. I just want everyone to get a load of this and enjoy it and start talking about it. And also, I'm also not afraid to say, I want to do another season with these actors. I want to get to put on the Zeus costume, figuratively, again, and go for another way around. And I love doing second and third seasons of things because it used to be a very rare thing to get to develop a character over a period of time. It usually, it used to be kind of movies where you go in and it's 2 hours and that's your lot. But I always appreciate the privilege of getting to develop a character over time. And that's what series can give us as actors, is a chance to stay with the character and go deeper and deeper. So yeah, I want it to be a hit, and I want another season, and I want everybody to enjoy it. So being totally candid there.
I think the odds are in your favor on that. So Charlie and Vlad have told me that the best thing if people want a second season is to go on social media, share the show, tell other people to watch it, tell Netflix that you want more. And all these wonderful, talented people are on social media. I will put their social media links down below, and be sure to tell them how much you enjoyed their performances. I'm sure they'd love to hear from you. Thank you, everybody. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, guys. It's great to see all of you.
Nice to see
Yeah,
everyone.
same.
Thank you. Bye.